What's going on, guys? Hope you're having a great day out there today. Well, guys, today we are working on getting the Outcast 6S back together after its little skate park incident. It was a rough day for it. I had a lot of fun with the Outcast out there, I'll tell you what, guys. But after sending off that vert wall, it did suffer some pretty good damage after that. Then is to be expected. I mean, no car is going to do that time and time again. Like I said, I think I did that 5 or 6 times with this car throughout the whole time. It took it until the last couple, and she was making some weird clicking noises, and definitely had some stuff breaking. But what I have all discovered so far, I haven't ripped every little bit and piece apart, but what I did find is I did break the upper hinge pin block, which it was still a stock plastic one, and I'm finally going to upgrade this because I've upgraded pretty much all of my 6S cars to the M2C Racing upper hinge pin block, and that is the number, the M2C3114. So the ARMA 6S. So that'll definitely be a great upgrade for the car. Also got a whole new differential case. Now I know the back differential is making some noise. I'm going to find some teeth missing in there. So I have a whole new diff in the back. I'm going to make sure I shim this before I put it in there. It is the plastic one. I've upgraded most of my cars to the aluminum version, but the Outcast is the only one I haven't really done that to. I've left it stock plastic. So I'm going to chuck another one in there, but make it sure it's shimmed. The front diff case on this is broken, but I have a whole nother case here that I had swapped out whenever I was changing out, I think on the Typhon maybe. So I'm just going to replace the front diff case and do that. Also broke the lower hinge pin brace on this, did split off, but I do have some of these laying around here from other cars I've gotten, some packages, so we're going to get that changed out. But I think that was it on the front. Everything else, the shock towers, all the A-arms, everything else held up great. Didn't have any problems with those, so the RPMs held up great on that bash session, so that was definitely a plus, because that was one issue I was having a lot with this, with the A-arms, so the new ones are holding up decently. Also, you guys seen in the video, the motor seen better days. Like I said, I had another BLX motor here for the 2050 kV motor. I had a couple of these laying around, so I chucked another one of those in here and got her bolted back in. So we got a good motor in here again. But like I said, I'm going to tear apart the rear diff and probably find out what gear is or both are making noise. But the plan is during this video, I'm not going to bore you guys with every step of the way, but kind of show you what I found and what all had broken on this thing. Because she took some pretty good punishment, but, you know, had fun, and that's all that counts. But anyway, guys, I'm going to get working on this thing, so if you guys are interested, stay tuned. All right, well, I think I've located all my parts that I know I need offhand, and this is the lower block. And this is the part number for the whole entire composite suspension mount set, is what they call it. It is a AR330379. Comes with your front, lower, rear, and all that good stuff. But like I said, we're going to use the M2C Racing upper hinge pin block because this is always the one that seems to break first. On any kind of hard landings or tweaks on these upper A-arms, it automatically jars and splits both of them off like you can see there. So I'm going to go ahead and get this thing torn apart. I'll bring you guys back in stages, but I'm going to go ahead and get the front diff torn off this thing and get the upper hinge pin mount changed out and go from there. Alright guys, well, I'm tearing her apart here. I got the top plate off of this thing. As you can see, it's busted apart pretty badly, so I'm going to go ahead and get that changed out. And as I've been taking screws out of this thing, more pieces of plastic are just falling off of this thing. The whole upper bulkhead is busted apart. That support's ripped out of there, and the screw is gone. The diff case is split on the bottom right here, so she's definitely in need of a new case. But all in all, you know, for the landings it took, it's not that terrible, really. And, guys, I've had some people, you know, say, oh, well, you didn't show the entire process. I'm hoping anybody that's worked on these, you know, obviously has started tearing them apart. And that's what these videos are for. And anybody that's starting out trying to work on this stuff, I'm just trying to put some stuff out there that might be helpful for you guys working on yours. So, anyway, I'm going to go ahead. I got the shock tower removed. I got the upper plate removed. I'm going to go ahead now and remove the lower hinge pins. Get the diff case out of this thing, swap it out, and then change out also the lower hinge pin block on this thing. And these are just 2 screws here to take that out. So I'm going to go ahead and get that done, and I'll bring you guys back when I got the diff changed out. Alrighty, I got the new upper hinge pin brace mounted up, and it's mounted up to the New, well, not new, but newer bulkhead that's not broken. So we got this far, and man, that looks so much. Everything fits up beautiful on these things, and this is the proper upper hinge pin. These things, I have not had any issues ever since changing these out on all the cars. It's been one definitely failure point that doesn't exist anymore. Alrighty, well, we got the diff over to the new case, and this one does have one shim in it. Right there is where you want to place your bearings on. I know a lot of people have asked that. Well, you said you shimmed the diff case, but where does it go? Right in here, there's a shim. Well, on some cars there will be, some there won't be, some you might need to add one there. But that shim you see right there floating around, you have to add and feel the play you got from side to side. And when you slide this down, it's easiest to kind of set them on their side so the shim is wanting to lay on the bearing. And you'll kind of feel it's a little snug going in there. And once it's seated, and you slide that bearing the rest of the way down in that little sheet, there's kind of like a little slit right beside the bearing. That's the gap you want to fill up right in here. You don't want it on the outside. You want to make sure it's tucked in with the bearing and on the case, but you should not have any play from side to side then. You want to shim it to where this thing does not want to rock back and forth to either direction once you are done, because what you're wanting to do is push this gear as close as you can to the pinion that's entering the bottom here, or the front, should I say. And so that's what you're wanting to do when you shim the differential. And then make sure everything's moving and spinning nice and free, and should be good to go. All right, it's all back together again. Everything is spinning nice and free. There's no tight spots in any certain spots, as you're turning it. So that's what you're looking for. And then getting rid of all that play from side to side inside. And sometimes, depending on the cases, you may need to shim the input gear. And then by doing that, you put a larger shim behind the bearing on the inside and push basically that bearing and everything closer to the differential case. I don't find you need to do that very many times unless you got it really out of place or the tolerances are really far out on the diff case, but it's definitely good to check and make sure that that tooth is riding as close as possible to your diff gear. So that's about all. I figured I'd show that while I had it apart, but I'm going to go ahead and get the hinge pins and everything mounted up to this thing, and we'll get the front back together. All right, well, we got the front end all back together again in all its beautiful glory. Got the new diff case on here. Got the new upper hinge pin brace for NTC Racing, so I don't have this thing snapping on me again. And everything else looks good and straight, so I think the front end is completely ready to go back on now. I'm going to go ahead and get the front end installed back on this thing. And then we're going to pull out the rear and find out exactly what is clicking and making noise in there if we have to replace the whole entire diff. Like I said, I have a whole new case here with everything, so we might just swap this out and make it easy on ourselves. All right, guys. Well, I'm getting her piece back together, and I got the front end fully attached on there. Well, not completely. I got one screw in the bottom right now. I'm trying to find a new front bumper piece that slides between the chassis and the bulkhead there, because I don't remember what was on there originally, because I didn't have the original setup, but this was the front bumper. But as you can see, there's still screws split off and rammed into the bumper. But I don't know. I'm trying to put this bumper back on there again, but I'm trying to see how I can best attach this. So I'm going to dig around for some parts and some spare pieces I have down there in my good but maybe used bin. See what I can find. But everything else is all attached up and everything fit back up good. I also got to change out the battery box because I did rip the battery box out of this thing, and I got a new one here. I'm going to swap it up and get a new one in there. So the Outcast should be in good shape when she's all done. I'm also going to change out the wing mount because, as you can see, the rear wing mount is really twisted up. And I'm going to throw on now one of the 3DRC wing mounts here that he sent me. And these things have been holding up great so far. Really happy with them. So I'm going to slap one of these on there before we're done here. All right, well, we got the front end all back together again. And as you can see, it does not have a bumper at the moment. I put the bumper, I think, that belongs on the Typhon 6S on the front of this. The RPM one I had on this thing is just, it was just beat. I couldn't even get any really screws to hold in there properly anymore because the holes were just ripped through. So anyway, I put this on there for now. It's going to be temporary. I'm going to look around and find another bumper for this thing. But the front end is all back together again. I've got the mud guards, got the new battery box in here. Everything mounted up great. So far, so good. You guys might notice the tires look a little different. I have never run this thing on the D-Boots 4S backflips. So I had an extra set of these. I'm going to throw these on there on the next run. Going to see how I like this thing on the 4S backflips. See how it jumps, see how it handles. Maybe it's a lot of fun. They're a lot lighter, so I'm curious to see how that works with the car. But anyway, guys, we're going to go ahead and pull the back wing off of this thing and pull the rear diff case off this thing and see what is clicking, because there is something clicking and binding up back there. So I'm guessing we're going to find some broken teeth. Alrighty, well, just pulled the rear diff case off this thing and the rear wing, and I do have broken teeth. Gonna try to get some light on this thing and see if this thing will focus. But at any rate, right there are at least 4 broken teeth. So yeah, I'm gonna pull the diff out of this thing and see if the input gear is busted. If it is busted also, then I'm definitely just going to change out the whole entire diff case and call it a day. Because to change that out, you got to pull the diff case out anyway. So we're going to see what it takes, see what it looks like, and go from there. All right. Well, after taking a look at the gear here, everything else looks good. There's only one spot on there right there that is all chewed up. The input gear, however, does not have a single mark on it. Now, I know normally everybody's like, oh, change them in pairs. I get it. But I'm not going to tear this thing apart. The input gear does not have a scratch or a mark on it. Amazingly enough, it looks beautiful. So what I'm going to do is just pull the rear diff out of this thing and slap in a new one, and then I'll order a new, pinion gear, ring gear for this thing, and have a spare differential laying around. But everything else looks good on it except that. So it'll be an easy enough fix. Okay, we got the new diff in there. We got it shimmed. Everything feels good. Everything's spinning nice and free. So we're going to go ahead, just throw that in there. And she's going to be fixed back up. I'm going to use the new rear case on this in case that got warped at all or anything. But now I got a spare diff case with input gear and everything, and I can keep this around for when I bust or split another one of them in half. But I'm going to go ahead, put this thing back together again, and get the RPM rear wing mount hooked up to this thing, and the Outcast 6S will be ready to rip again here, guys. Well, that wasn't too terrible. But guys, we got the D-Boots 4S on the Outcast, and honestly, I like the size of them, proportional. Be curious to see how she runs with these things on there. But she's all back together again, and we got the 3D RC wing mount on the back of this thing. So far, these have been holding up great on all my 6S rigs. Been really happy with those. But got everything else fixed up. We got the front differential changed out. We got the rear diff with the new diff gear and all that changed out in here. Got a new motor in it. And a few other little bits and pieces along the way. But guys, she is all back together again and feeling nice and smooth. The Outcast will be ready for its rip again. And can't wait to take it out here with these tires. I'm curious to try it out. I real quickly figured I'd show you what all we got here that basically broke on that run. Obviously, we got the battery box. We got what's left of bits and pieces here of the upper hinge pin brace that we changed out with the M2C Racing. We have the lower hinge pin block on the front. And obviously, the diff case. So, I mean, all told, oh, and also, obviously, the rear diff gear itself, the differential. I mean, the gears are, I think, around like 12 to 16 bucks if I just change that out. However, I did buy a whole new diff case just to have some extra spare parts. But I mean, really, all in all told, if you actually replaced what was broken, just in its bits and pieces, like you normally would, battery box, probably, I think you can get these battery boxes for like $5 or $6. The differential cases are usually around 12 bucks. And the upper and lower hinge pins, you can get the whole set of them for, I think they were like $8. And then the differential gear, you're looking at, another, probably 15 bucks, 18 bucks, somewhere around there. I could be wrong on that price. But, all in all, I mean, for the hits it took and the beating that this truck took, honestly, damage isn't too terrible, and I had a lot of fun. But anyway, guys, I just figured I'd show you, what all happened to the Outcast after that bash, because I know it obviously took some pretty hard hits, and what all I did need to replace to get her back up and running again. But she's ready to roll, and I'm going to take her out this time on the 4S and see how we like it. But I hope you guys enjoyed the little video, so until next time, y'all be safe, be careful out there, peace out, everybody.